哇，整片山掉下来耶！靠，吓死人了！哎呦，整个山掉了！啊，那车子！
This video captures the poignant situation of the farmers who took part in the Rice Up the Mountain initiative promoted by the Chinese government. They initially hoped the rain would irrigate their paddy fields, but it turned into a flood, sweeping the rice down the mountainside, ruining this year's crop. The video states, "Rice up the mountains, water from the sky, now everything has been submerged." Experts claim it is an unavoidable natural disaster. Rice up the mountains results in soil down the mountains. It is the farmers who suffer, all their efforts wasted. The initiative against nature's law has caused soil erosion. The question is it luck or misfortune for the rice? Can it be secured for future generations? The Rice Up the Mountains proposal was suggested by Zhu Youyong, a member of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, who in October last year at the 20th CPC National Congress promoted his pilot cultivation method in Haozhiba village of Lancang County in Yunnan Province. The so-called method entails clearing all vegetation from steep slopes, turning the mountainside into bare yellow terraces for rice cultivation. Zhu Youyong claimed that Rice Up the Mountain is well received by farmers. He has promoted this cultivation model in the mountainous areas of Yunnan, reaching 82,350 acres, with a maximum yield of 788 kilograms of rice per 0.16 acres per year, even in drought conditions. However, this unconventional cultivation method was mocked and criticized by those with farming experience, fearing it would damage the ecological environment. They questioned the use of mechanically created terraces, suggesting they're not conducive to soil and water conservation and could be washed away in heavy rain. A farmer remarked,
"Like growing rice, the first issue is the water source. If the weather is dry, even if you build a dam on the mountain, there may not be water in it. Can you realistically pump water from the bottom to resist drought? And in the event of a flood, it goes without saying fields will be washed away. Not to mention the mountainous terrain is terraced and divided by small sections. At a time, can mechanization be achieved? If not, how much more labor cost will be added?"
German water expert Wan Weiluo stated that the officially promoted successful cases are small in scale and results from considerable human resources and material inputs into the experimental fields. If true costs are calculated, the approach is inefficient and impossible to implement on a wider scale. He added that it's especially ironic when during the raining season in April and May, dry rice planted on bare slope is easily washed away by heavy rain, causing immense distress to the farmers. Such disaster videos are widely circulated online. Furthermore, a man revealed in a video that Zhu Youyong did not clarify in his speech at the People's Congress that planting rice in Haozhiba village comes with certain conditions.
First, annual rainfall of over 1,000 millimeter. Second, an altitude below 1,700 meter. And third, fertile soil. He questioned how many places in China possess such conditions, which Zhu did not mention in his speech. Finally, he asserted that if these conditions were mentioned, the experiment would have no universal applicability and couldn't be widely promoted.
The man also disclosed the numerous benefits of rice up the mountains, especially for the proposing experts who will undoubtedly go down in history.
There are many benefits of rice up the mountains, especially for the proposing expert who will undoubtedly go down in history. The benefits include 1. Effective compensation for the 1.8 billion mu, 288 million acres of arable land. 2. Successful appropriation of national special subsidy funds. 3. The transformation of barren hills into green mountains, equivalent to mountains of gold and silver. 4. More land can be released for real estate development to alleviate local fiscal pressures. 5. The expert was elected as a representative of the People's Congress through grandiose claims. In the end, the central government is happy. Local government is happy. Experts are happy. But it is the ordinary people without any connections who suffer.
However, some local governments have taken Zhu Youyong's localized success with hillside rice cultivation as a justification and evidence to truly turn mountains into terraced fields. Transforming barren hills into terraces also received strong endorsement from the Beijing authorities. Consequently, various places deployed heavy machinery to construct rows of terraces on the hillsides, with some remote areas even using this as an attraction to draw in tourists. The downside of this rice up the hill approach has already shown its grim results. In Lancang city of Yunnan Province, a few heavy downpour on June 14 triggered mudslides, destroying not only the rice fields but also pouring into the homes of the farmers living downhill. However, no officials have stepped forward to take the responsibility for these calamities. It is the ordinary people at the grassroots level who are forced to bear the brunt. In order to address the food crisis, not only has rice been grown on the mountains, but the Chinese government has made a major reversal in its policies. The years-long policy of returning farmland to forest has been replaced by a returning forest to farmland campaign. Multiple local governments have been enthusiastically promoting returning forest to farmland, clearing forest and orchards to plant crops. Since mid-April, Chinese netizens have been sharing photos and videos of forest lands being converted to farmland across various social media platforms. A video shows newly planted grapevines and apple trees in Shandong being bulldozed, leaving the hills bare. In the video, farmers are seen chopping down trees, while nearby others are selling the cut trees. The video then shifts to a report of a sandstorm hitting China. The Chinese TV broadcast shows
on April 12th, a new round of sandstorms swept from Mongolia towards the northern and central provinces of China, affecting 15 provinces and cities. This news triggered widespread concern and worry, awakening us and making us rethink environmental protection issues. In the rainy season of April, the emergence of large-scale sandstorms indicates that the environment has suffered serious damage, compelling us to seriously consider the importance of environmental protection and not to view environmental changes with short-sightedness. At present, we still need to increase our efforts in afforestation, covering the ground with more green vegetation to effectively prevent further desertification.
While the whole country is implementing the policy of returning forests to farmland, the appropriateness of this policy in the northwestern regions has become a controversial issue. The approach of Chengdu sitting in Sichuan province is the most extreme. The local government invested 34.1 billion yuan in 2017 to construct a citywide ecological greenway that is hundreds of kilometers long, which was originally planned to be completed by the end of this year. However, by the end of April, many local residents found that the newly planted greenery had been removed for farming. Leaked online photos show nearly completed eco-parks and lotus ponds turned back into barren lands, covering an area of up to 16,600 acres. This caused a wave of criticism from netizens about the waste of public funds. Amidst the controversy, the news website ChinaNet, affiliated with the State Council Information Office, confirmed on May 6 that the demolition of farming phenomenon indeed existed. But the report clarified that the Chengdu municipal government started the farming without any violation and in accordance with the requirements of the central authorities. Further, the cost of greenway projects was not as high as rumored. However, many Chinese netizens do not buy this explanation. According to their calculations, the profit from planting rice is only about 770 yuan per 0.16 acres per year, with 16,400 acres of land yielding only 77 million yuan per year. Using such profit to offset the loss of the Chengdu ecological greenway would take at least 440 years. On May 9th, a blogger named Cha Yanguanshe questioned on Baidu if there is a shortage of grain, why many golf courses across China are not being dismantled and returned to farmland. This move would not only be suitable, but could also reduce the amount of fertilizer and water wasted in maintaining the golf courses. His post earned quite a bit of support, but someone mockingly commented, "That's where the elites relax and play. Who dares to touch it?" He Haibao, a scholar from Hubei province published an article on the Shanghai online media ObserverNet on May 11th, stating that the various local returning forest to farmland initiatives are like a series of nightmarish dramas unfolding in real life. He stated that based on his field research, the authorities' mandate for farmers to cultivate barren lands not only defies the principles of nature, but also bans them from growing economically profitable crops and forces them to take a loss by growing grain. This is against economic logic. Young ex-farmers accustomed to urban life are forced to return to rural areas to farm. He mentioned that local governments, to expand their arable lands for political purposes, are even resorting to subsidies and asking local officials with no agriculture experience to work the fields, only to be met with public criticism for their show. Guangxi Online author Jing Chu commented, "This campaign-style movement resembles the Great Leap Forward during which the entire nation was forced into rural industrialization from 1958 to 1962. The Great Leap Forward and the mass steel production led to severe famine that starved 50 million people to death. Right now, farming is not profitable for farmers and they can't even support their families. The government's reckless actions such as deforestation for farming will only result in destruction. It is equivalent to committing a crime against humanity," he said. Located in Boston, Professor Cho Wan-jun of the Department of Finance and Commerce of Northeastern University criticized that the CCP's approach to treating symptoms instead of the cause, completely ignoring that the initial return farmland to forest initiative was due to poor soil quality, poor planting efficiency, or pollution, which meant the land is not suitable for farming. The current switch back to farmland pushed by political forces raises concerns about its effectiveness. So, does China really have a food crisis? Firstly, the State Council Information Office of China held a press conference on May 11th titled Securing Food Safety and Firmly Holding China's Rice Bowl. Chong Liang, director of the National Grain and Material Reserve Bureau, declared at the conference that China's grain production has achieved 19 consecutive years of plentiful harvest, with a total output maintained above 1.3 trillion caddies for 8 consecutive years. The self-sufficiency rate exceeds 100%, and the per capita grain possession of 480 kilograms is also higher than the internationally recognized safety line of 400 kilograms. However, on July 20, the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, Xi Jinping, presided over the second meeting of the Central Financial and Economic Committee. As the Chinese economy fell into a slump, the focus of the meeting was on food security. Xi Jinping emphasized the importance of food security, describing food as a matter of national importance and farming land as the lifeblood of food production. He emphasized the strategy of effectively utilizing the land and developing farming strategy, strengthening the protection of farmland, improving the quality of farmland, exploring the potential for comprehensive utilization of saline alkali land, and expanding agriculture production space. In response to this, on July 21st, according to a report by Radio Free Asia, Chen Xiaonong, a Chinese economist living in the United States, stated that China's food security includes the issue of stable supply of feed. China has long been importing soybeans and corn from the United States and Brazil with an annual import volume of more than 100 million tons. This meeting emphasized food security, indicating China's concern about the crisis that may arise from not giving up threats to Taiwan. Chen Xiaonong said Xi Jinping now sees that the confrontation between China and the US is escalating. If he does not give up the threat to Taiwan, he worries that if he is to create various military threats in the future, shipping in the entire East Asia region will be disrupted, including China's own imports and exports will be interrupted, and the route of China's fodder import will also be cut off. If he insists on having farmers grow soybeans and corn, the government needs to provide high subsidies, but there is no money. So now he proposed to find a way to protect farmland and food. In fact, this shows a sense of strategic crisis. If experts' analysis is true, the so-called food crisis in China may conceal political and strategic crises. Regardless of the type of crisis, the first to be hit are the Chinese farmers who are already facing a survival crisis. This has also laid the seeds of disaster for China's food problem, substantiating the disaster the Chinese Communist Party has brought upon the people.